This is Perry Dunlap. Just giving my initial thoughts on reading through the Gospel of Luke in one sitting. Sorry, normally I would have done this on my computer, but for some reason my camera is not working on my computer, so I'm using my phone. My audience will be a group of about 40 middle school students at my church. Most of them are white and come from a semi-rural, conservative background in Milford, Michigan. The gender is pretty much split evenly between boys and girls. So that's my audience. As I read, I really noticed how much Jesus talked specifically about the kingdom of God, and I don't think I really realized just how often he did before that. I think when we partition the Gospels, it causes us to just emphasize certain teachings of Jesus over others, or maybe like the miracles over other things like the teaching. But I felt like in Luke, it was as though like every time Jesus paused to teach, it was about the coming of the kingdom and how everyone must be prepared, and how the poor and destitute would have a place in it, and how the disobedient wouldn't, and how the first and the last, the first would be last in the kingdom and the last would be first. Right, this kingdom is coming really unexpectedly, both the timing and the kind of kingdom, and that seemed to be like a really intense theme overall. It was just the unexpectedness of this kingdom. It was just not what people were looking for. It was not what people were expecting would happen. A couple other notes as you read through one sitting. One thing that surprised me was just noting the escalation of Jesus' miracles. In chapter 5, you see that Jesus forgiving the paralyzed man's sins was the first time that he had done something like this in conjunction with healing. And this is also the first time he experiences opposition from the religious leaders. And this is a very important thread that happens throughout Luke. You see just the constant escalation of this opposition. It gets worse and worse and eventually violent and leads to his death. But it begins in chapter 5, and you really see that ramping up as you read it all in one sitting. You also notice some narrative foreshadowing as you go through the narrative. I had not noticed before how Herod's searching for Jesus in chapter 9 really foreshadows his eventually he comes before Herod in chapter 22 after being sent by Pilate before the crucifixion. And that's just something you notice when you read it all together like that. But the bulky center of Luke just really makes an impact on you as you go through it all at once, right? Over and over again, you just see this rebuke and rejection by the religious leaders, and Jesus responds by preaching against them and their forfeiture of their place in the kingdom. Overall, this was just a different experience to read it through one sitting like this. I felt more emotionally attached to Jesus as he was crucified, since I'd only recently watched him be born, get left by his parents at the temple when he was 12, and then walk through Galilee and Judea, preaching the kingdom to everyone who would hear it, Jew and Gentile alike. There's just a sense of expansion, and Jesus starting something bigger than anything that anyone had ever expected or even wanted. But reading through it all at once makes you want more. When you finish Luke, it almost feels like it ends on this massive cliffhanger. It feels like as though this expansion just hadn't happened yet, and that his death and resurrection was just another step in the process. So it leaves you saying, I want more. Honestly, that's how it feels as you read through it all at once. And these are my initial thoughts on it. So I'm glad I did it.